Let's jump right into this explainer, where we are going to unpack the messy, incredibly frustrating world of reef tank algae. If you keep a saltwater aquarium, you absolutely know the feeling. You're looking closely at your carefully curated underwater world and bam! Suddenly there's this fuzzy, slimy, or stringy intruder creeping over your pristine rocks. It's honestly enough to make you want to pull your hair out. But today we're going to break down the actual science of these invaders and turn all that frustration into a structured, logical game plan.
So, when you see that unsightly, stubborn growth choking out your beautiful corals, you probably assume your water is just filthy, right? Well, I want to challenge that assumption right out of the gate. It's basically the most common misconception in the entire reef-keeping hobby. You see a patch of brown or green, and your immediate instinct is, man, I failed at basic hygiene, I need to scrub everything and do a massive water change. But you know what? That is fundamentally misunderstanding what the algae is actually trying to tell you.
And this crucial mindset shift is really the foundation of this explainer. You have to remember that you are managing a delicate, living, biological system that has fallen out of harmony. You aren't just cleaning up a pile of dirt. Algae doesn't appear just because a tank is dirty in the traditional sense. It shows up because the environmental conditions are perfectly tuned for its specific survival. When we shift our perspective from simply cleaning dirt to balancing an ecosystem, we actually empower ourselves to fix the root cause, rather than just endlessly battling the symptoms week after week.
That brings us to Section 1, not just dirty water, the true drivers of algae. If it isn't just dirt, what exactly is rolling out the red carpet for these blooms?
Well, algae capitalizes on specific vulnerabilities in your setup. We're talking about things like wild swings in your nutrients, specifically your nitrates and phosphates. Or consider your lights. Maybe your light spectrum is accidentally calibrated perfectly for growing algae rather than keeping your corals healthy. It could also be poor flow patterns creating stagnant, dead zones where detritus just sits and rots. Or, honestly, it might just be that your tank is brand new and still cycling through its natural messy biological maturation. Those are the true drivers.
Moving on to Section 2, the 5 algae culprits, a rogues gallery of reef invaders. Knowing the drivers is really only half the battle. You have to know exactly who you're fighting.
So we can actually categorize this whole mess into 5 distinct profiles: diatoms, hair algae, cyanobacteria, dinoflagellates, and green film. Think of this as your master cheat sheet. Each one of these has a totally unique visual signature and, more importantly, a unique environmental trigger. We're going to walk through each of these one by one so you can nail the diagnosis every single time.
First up in our lineup, diatoms. This stuff acts like a brown dust storm in your tank. You'll usually see it coating the sandbed or the glass. The dead giveaway? It wipes away incredibly easily, but then it comes right back just a few hours later. The secret to stopping diatoms is cutting off their supply chain. They rely heavily on silicates to build their cell walls. Those silicates are usually sneaking in through your source water, your salt mix, or even leaching out a brand new sand. So you wipe or siphon it out mechanically, and then upgrade your filtration with quality deionization or silicate-specific media to literally starve them out.
Now, if you're looking at visible, stringy structures rather than a flat film, you are likely dealing with hair algae. This is a highly structural algae. It forms these dense, green tufts that tangle together and shed all over your corals. Hair algae goes absolutely crazy when elevated dissolved nutrients meet poor export systems and stagnant water flow. To beat it, yes, you can pull it out by hand, but you have to fix the engine driving it. You need to ramp up your protein skimming, stop overfeeding, and crank up the water flow to blow out those dead zones where it loves to take root.
Let's look at 2 notorious lookalikes that cause a ton of confusion. First is cyanobacteria. Plot twist, this isn't even an algae at all, it's a bacteria. It forms these distinct red or blue-green slime mats and often has this funky, earthy smell if you disturb it. It loves low oxygen areas, especially when your tank's nitrate and phosphate levels crash down to near zero. Now contrast that with dinoflagellates. Dinos form thick, snotty, reddish-brown patches that are super slick and smear easily. They are heavily driven by light and what our sources call stable but wrong nutrient states. Misdiagnosing these two can lead to a massive headache, so pay close attention to whether it's a smelly slime mat or a snotty smear.
Our final usual suspect is green film algae. This one builds a really stubborn, short green turf on your rocks and glass. It's way tougher to scrape off than those dusty diatoms we talked about earlier. If your tank is covered in this, it's basically a giant flashing sign that you need to step up your regular maintenance. You probably need to dial back your lighting schedule so you aren't blasting the tank with excess energy, clean up floating particulates, and honestly, just make sure you aren't overfeeding. Excess food means excess nutrients, which means green film.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 3. Identify first, treat second. The practical intervention workflow. We know the suspects, we understand their motives. So how do we safely apprehend them without crashing the entire ecosystem?
Okay, before you panic and start pouring random miracle cures into your water, follow this simple workflow. Step 1. Just take a breath. Observe the traits for a couple of days. How does it look? How does it behave? Step 2. Match it to the specific culprits we just covered. And Step 3. Intervene mechanically first. For example, take a simple turkey baster and blast those cyanobacteria mats to break them up into the water column so your filters can actually catch them. Only after you've manually removed what you can do you move on to making targeted environmental corrections to your flow, light, or nutrient export. And when you do start making those environmental corrections, we hit Section 4, the Golden Treatment Rule. This is all about safety and consistency, and it is non-negotiable for the survival of your reef. Here is the Golden Rule, plain and simple. Change one variable at a time. I know it sounds painfully obvious, but listen, when your beautiful tank is suddenly covered in brown slime, human nature makes you want to change the lights, dial up the skimmer, totally reconfigure the flow, and do a massive 50% water change all on the same Saturday afternoon. Do not do this. Rapid, aggressive changes will severely shock an established reef system. You have to move deliberately. If you suspect flow is the issue, fix the flow. Then wait. Observe how both the algae and your corals respond before you touch anything else. This naturally brings up chemical treatments. Look, there are dozens of chemical algae fixers sitting on aquarium store shelves, but our source material slaps a massive warning label on them. These products can severely stress your biological filtration and your sensitive corals. If you just nuke the tank with chemicals without fixing the actual root cause, sure, you might kill the algae today, but you're also going to damage the beneficial bacteria that keeps your tank stable, pretty much guaranteeing a much worse algae bloom next week. True, long-term success is boring, but it works. It's about consistency, stable parameters, strong nutrient export, and smart tank design. We've covered a ton of ground in this explainer today. We've transitioned from viewing algae as just dirt that needs scrubbing to understanding it as a highly specific, very communicative indicator of your ecosystem's overall health. So take all of this, go look really closely at your tank, and ask yourself a question. What is that algae actually trying to tell you about the invisible chemistry of your reef? Get to the root cause, and you'll get your pristine tank back. Thanks for joining me on this one, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.